Welcome to Dualshock'd, the Brotherhood of Geeks PlayStation podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Brett J. Rasmussen, and over here I got my other co-host,
Spectre.
Yo, what is up, my man?
How's it going?
Ah,
Yeah.
oh man, it's always good to just hear your voice because I can't see you. Da, da, da.
I know you miss me
Oh,
dearly, but
I miss it so much. Oh Jesus, it's all by myself in this house. I just am all by myself. You're like, this is paradise for me. I don't need to deal with Brett and his annoying button. The
it's
only
like it's
time,
like a dream come true. Yeah.
where for me, I'm like, going like, I want to get out of the house, but I can't because Um,
Well, I mean, like we've been talking about. I mean, we're not exactly the outdoorsy types, you know. I mean,
no,
so
I mean,
this
look at
this
me.
isn't the end of the world for us. I mean, but it's still it is kind of dreary and depressing. So I mean, I'm looking forward to being able to actually get outside. But in the interim, I am definitely enjoying myself with a lot of games right now.
Oh
So.
yeah, most definitely.
Um,
So yeah,
But I'll let you start it off though. What are you playing?
sure. Let's see. I have finished Doom Eternal myself. Like I finished it,
Nice.
all of that. It's really good. I definitely agree with your review. There's a few things like I was talking to Guru Blaze about it on the last episode. There were a few things that you said where I'm like, okay, well, like, and it's very nitpicky. Like you and I with like some of the things. I think like for me, I don't care if like the demons they just disappear. That's something that I'm like,
Oh,
whatever.
I mean, yeah, and I mean, really, that was kind of nitpicky. I mean, I don't know. I just it's sad that we have a game made in 2020 that can't do something that games have been doing since. I mean, the original Dooms did that. It was just a cool thing. You felt like you were like you had conquered an area. Like all these demons are dead before me, and you can see their bodies everywhere. And
Mm-hmm.
it's the same for other games like Fear and stuff like that. I mean,
Yeah.
it just I don't know. I like to revel in the destruction of a big firefight.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but I don't know. That's nitpicky. But still.
Yeah, like honestly, Doom feels more like an action game. Like it feels like it is a shooter, but it feels more like an action game more than like your normal like Call of Duty like your Call of Duty shooter. Like Borderlands is a shooter, but it's more of it has RPG elements, or whatever. If that makes any sense. With how like you
Yeah,
get
and so
power
does
ups
Doom to
and
some extent now. I mean, they've kind of added that in. I think that's just because that's like a. I mean, that wasn't really something that was there before.
yeah.
I mean, but it feels like a natural part of the game. It doesn't. It's not intrusive. It doesn't turn the game into an RPG.
No,
I
it's
mean,
it's it's very much feels like Doom. It's very fast and it's like even on the normal easy difficulty, like there it is. It's not like you can't just like walk through it and be like, that was like even on easy. There is a kind of challenge to it. Um,
yeah, I thought they balanced the difficulty a lot better this time around. I mean, I think Doom 2016, the normal mode feels like easy,
hmm
and the hard mode feels like a normal.
Yeah.
Whereas this game, the normal, it feels a lot more balanced. It feels like, okay, this is like, you're gonna actually die a couple of times. The harder modes are difficulty modes are actually a challenge.
hmm
So I thought that was much better handled this time around.
Yeah, and so I've been playing that, and I've also been playing through Final Fantasy VII Remake, and
Oh, nice, nice.
that
Yeah,
is and I've seen I've never played Final Fantasy VII. I did not play that game back in what was it 95, 96, 97, like back when it first came out on the PS1. Like I never played it. Um, and this is my first time playing through that, and I know, or at least I've heard that it is a remake. Like you are going through the beats of the original game, like the big story beats, and the story is happening, but there's a lot of changes that I believe some people, or at least I've heard, I could be wrong, but I've heard some people are upset about because it's not staying completely as true to the original Final Fantasy VII. They've taken a lot of liberties with it, which again, I don't know, and maybe I need to look deeper into that. But I will definitely say, for me, just me playing it, it is great fun. It is absolutely great fun. I love the different, like, where you can kind of freeze it in time, and you can choose how you're going to do your attacks and how your um, side characters, your companions, will do their attacks. So it has that kind of turn-based feel to it, but it's still very much in real time. It's great. Oh man, it's so good.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat as you. I really was not a fan of it back in its day. I never really
Oh, so
played
you
it at the
played it?
time.
So you did play it?
No, I haven't played the remake just yet. I only played the demo.
No, no,
But
no, 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 no. You played the PS1 game. You played the
no,
PS1 game.
no, I'm telling you, I didn't play the PS1
Oh,
game.
okay. I'm sorry,
I
I
was not a
misunderstood.
fan of it back in the day. Is what I'm saying.
Oh,
To
okay,
clarify.
okay, okay.
So I was not a fan of it before. I didn't play it back on the PS1 era. I played the PS1 version, the remastered version or whatever, not the remake. I should clarify the re-release of it
Yeah.
on PlayStation 4. I played that, so I kind of played what the original experience was, so I can kind of compare it to that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, I haven't really started that just yet. I'll be getting to that though pretty shortly. But yeah, no,
Okay.
I played the demo. The demo was fun. I mean, graphically, it looks fantastic. I feel it's I don't know. It's not really a game that's meant for us. In a lot of ways, I think it's a game that's meant for the fans. And I'm like you said, there's going to be some fans that are kind of harping on like, oh, they didn't keep everything the same and blah blah blah. And I guess my initial speculation for that would be that they probably changed a couple of things to be more in line with because this is a multimedia franchise now. You have the movie, you have
Yeah.
other games
Yeah.
surrounding it. So I think maybe they're making changes that are more in line with that. Maybe they're making changes that better segue into a follow-up game because they're dividing this game into several parts.
This isn't the episode, so there will be a part two, episode two, to this.
Yeah, so maybe that's why they're changing things a little bit, or I really don't honestly don't know. Or maybe this is kind of like a George Lucas scenario where they're going back and they're fixing things that aren't broken or something. I don't know. So I'll have to look into that as I'm playing the game. But yeah, no, I'm mostly playing this for basically two reasons. Just because we're talking about it on the show, and also because my girlfriend is a huge fan
Mm-hmm.
of the series. So I'm sort of playing it for her sake in a way. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so that's why I'll be getting into it, but I haven't started it just yet. I do have it, I just have not started it just yet.
Yeah.
I will say the first class edition, the collector's edition, does look quite fantastic. I was very impressed with the
Yep, I was just about to bring that
figure for
up.
that.
I was just about to bring that up. Is that we have an unboxing for the first class edition of Final Fantasy VII Remake, and that is up. So you can press the little eye icon, or you can go ahead and go to the channel, subscribe to the channel, like, comments, all of that. But we do have that up. So if you want to see an unboxing, I have an unboxing for that also. Which is great. It's awesome. It's great, and it's. I'm surprised at how big it is. I got the Kingdom Hearts 3 collector's edition, and it's just three little figures, and they're more like action figures, very highly detailed action figures, but very much action figures. It doesn't feel like a statue. It doesn't feel like you could kind of like put it on a shelf with behind me on the set. Like, these are all statues, and they're all highly like, this one feels like a statue and everything. It's great. The first class edition is great. It's beautiful. So yeah.
Yeah, but other than that, I've also been kind of cleaning up Doom and just getting all the last of the things to do in it. But I'm
Mm-hmm.
basically done with that. Played it on both PC and console just to get really the true full experience of that.
Yeah.
I mean, I definitely for FPS games, I definitely prefer PC. But I think it runs a little bit better on PC, but still good
Yeah.
no matter
Well.
which platform you choose.
Yeah. Well, we
Uh,
already know that.
we already know that. But speaking of that, I'm also just got back into the very very controversial game that I've defended from the start, and I think it's actually finally in a state where it's much better off, and it feels like a true launch. Fallout 76.
Yeah, because the Wastelander update has happened.
Yes. So
Um.
so yeah. So that came out. I've just barely dipped my toe
Okay.
into the actual new content. I'm actually playing a character to coincide with the release of Wastelanders. They actually released it on Steam, so I actually started up a new character. I'm playing it on PC, and yeah, I mean, just I mean, so far so good. I mean, just the bug fixes to the game. I mean, it feels like a much more solid experience. And even my a friend of mine who's also playing it on PC, he kind of came into this blind. He didn't play. He heard all the bad press the first time around. And he decided to avoid the game. He is a Fallout fan, but he decided to avoid the game because he's not like a diehard fan like myself that just gets everything Fallout. But he's playing it now, and he's actually just he totally just came out. I didn't ask him for his opinion or a review or anything. He just said that he really enjoyed it. So
that's good.
Yeah, it's anecdotal, but I know it's not just me. Just being a sycophant here and just praising this game because I'm a Fallout fan.
No, I get you.
But yeah, no. I'll probably have more to say about it once I get really into Wastelanders. But so far, I mean, like I said, I'm enjoying it quite a bit. One unfortunate thing I also am playing it again on PlayStation because I originally played it on PlayStation. I have a high level character on there. Unfortunately, they've radically, I guess you could say, nerfed my character in terms of the kind of, because you have like a different kind of like perks and stuff you can get. They radically nerfed my character quite a bit compared to what he was before. So there's no real full respec in this game. Like you kind of just have to slowly respec your character. So
got it.
One minor complaint, I guess, is that character is sort of ruined now for another 10 to 15 levels, but that's okay.
But it isn't that kind of like MMO game. Like I play Destiny. That's kind of like the game that I play with my brain turned off. Like that has happened in Destiny. It happens in ESO. It happens in MMOs like all the time. It's a normal thing. Before we continue, one last thing. Wastelanders is a free update, correct?
That is correct. Yeah, it's free, totally free update. It's I mean, and it's like I said, they kind of released the Steam version. It's the Steam version is the only kind of new thing right now. Otherwise, it's been out on most other major platforms. But yeah, totally free update. And there is, of course, the bane of your existence. There are microtransactions in the game. But for the most part, they are just purely cosmetic. There's a couple that aren't, but they are still very optional, and I play without them. So.
No, I get you. But let's go ahead and get into what we always begin with. News of the Nation! All right, let's go. Let's begin with this. So, first topic. On the PlayStation blog, PlayStation has announced that they have this initiative called the Play at Home Initiative. And it's pretty much they have, are because of the situation we're in with the pandemic and everything that has happened, they have pretty much given us 2 free games that you can just download for free between April 15th to May 5th. So once you download them, you keep them, they're yours. So the 2 games you get for free is Uncharted, the Nathan Drake Collection, and Journey. So you're pretty much getting 4 games in one, which is awesome. And they're like 2/4 very, very good games to play. On the PlayStation blog, they have the article up. As it says, it does state that you can go ahead and it's a limited digital download from April 15th to May 5th. Once you download them, they are yours, or once you redeem them. And I'm not gonna go through Uncharted. Uncharted is the game, the trilogy that came out on the PS3 has been remastered to the PS4. And then Journey has won multiple Game of the Years when it first came out on the PS3, has been remastered to the PS4. Very different kind of game, but a fantastic kind of game. I love Journey, and I love Uncharted. The other thing that they have said in the article, along with this Play at Home initiative, because what they're doing is they want people to stay home because of the pandemic. So they're just going like, here are 2 free games that you can play. The other thing is that they have said they have because of this or to go along with this initiative, they have the creative fund and they want to support independent developers because they have been extremely affected by this pandemic. So what they have done is that Sony Interactive Entertainment has developed a fund to support the indie developers throughout this time. They have earmarked $10 million
Earmarked.
earmarked. I'm sorry. Thank you for correcting me.
That's
Earmarked.
that college degree coming in, saving us clutch right there.
Well, yeah, and that's also me reading. I thought the N was an M. Anyway,
No, you're good. You're good, man. You're good.
there you go. They have earmarked $10 million to support their independent development partners. So pretty much a lot of the games that you see digitally only on the PlayStation Store, they are supporting them, which is awesome. So I wanted to just kind of bring that up. Like, what do you think about this initiative?
Yeah, no, I mean, like I said, one of the key differences here is, I mean, of course, in general, I would say, I think you agree with this. I tend to be much more critical of Sony. I'm still someone that, at least as contrasted to you. I mean, I'm still someone that I don't like, PlayStation Plus. I don't like some of the other things that Sony does with censorship. I mean, I'm a vocal critic, but I'm also a fan at the same time. Whereas I think you're more in the diehard fan category.
Um, uh,
But
just to interrupt you there. Yes, I am a PlayStation fanboy. Like I'm a PlayStation fan. I very much love PlayStation. But that doesn't mean that I'm not going to go ahead and be like, oh, PlayStation, why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? I am critical of PlayStation, but I would say that you are more critical of them than I am. Because there are some things that PlayStation have done that you and I disagree with, but that's for another day. But as you were
yeah,
saying,
yeah. As I was saying, I was just saying that because, I mean, in general, I'm not afraid of them out. But for this, I mean, credit where credit's due. I applaud them for this. I mean, they're basically giving out the entire Uncharted franchise this month for, for free, quote unquote.
yeah, pretty much, yeah.
I mean, so that's pretty laudable. I mean, and what they're doing for, making we talked about it before. I think they made a like kind of a separate fund, and then now they're having a fund specifically for indie developers.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I mean, hats off to them. I mean, there's a lot of companies, I mean, that are doing different initiatives like this right now. But I think I think it's good to kind of applaud them for this. I mean, it's always, I mean, it definitely is easy to just point at a company and say, "Oh, look at them, they're just greedy, they're evil," and stuff like that. I think
Mm-hmm.
people usually take that approach, and it's a very inane outlook that lacks any nuance. And I mean,
Mm-hmm.
because a company is a lot like a person. They're a mixture of good and bad, and this is definitely very good. I mean, it's I mean, giving out a couple of extra games, and these are free to own forever. They're not attached to Plus. There's no scheme behind this,
No,
really. So
you are given these games for completely for free. And then yes, like if you play online, which I would say 80% of the PlayStation fan base does in some kind of capacity. You get Plus, and then you get to get the two free games you get this month. So as you said, you get the entire Uncharted franchise for free, which is great.
yeah, I mean, like I said, credit where credit's due. This is a very nice thing. I mean, who knows? Maybe they'll do this again next month. Who knows? I mean, we'll see what happens. I mean, this is kind of being drawn out a little bit longer than I think anybody thought it would.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, we'll see what they do. But yeah, no, I commend them for it. They also have a sale going on right now, I believe, too, kind of a spring sale that kind of coincides with it. So
Yep.
it's, I mean, if you're stuck in the house, I mean, one of the best ways to pass times is video games. I mean,
Exactly.
so yeah, so I give them a lot of credit for this. So
Yeah.
well done.
I agree. So let's move on. Next topic. It's kind of just it's a bunch of stuff all in one. It's a bunch of releases that we've gotten a bunch of remasters actually have been announced within the past week. So I will just go through them. So we have it has been announced that Crytek has announced they are doing their Crysis remaster for the PC, Xbox One, PS4, and Switch. Um, the THQ Nordic has announced the date for SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated, which is a remaster of the popular Battle for Bikini Bottom. Like back when that game first came out, it was actually very popular. Um, I didn't play this game back in the day, but there has to be a reason why it warrants a remaster. And it's coming out June 23rd. Back to Crysis, I believe. I don't believe Crysis has a street date for it. At least not to my knowledge. I could be wrong. I'm just gonna
Yeah, I didn't see a specific release window for it just yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean to talk about Crysis, I mean I only briefly played the original Crysis. I played Crysis 2 a little bit more. The single player was okay. The multiplayer was actually kind of fun in some ways.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, really, I mean Crysis basically I mean what it was and what would be remembered for is it was basically a tech demo. It was a tech
Yeah.
demo for the Cry engine, a very powerful engine, very nice looking game, and that was kind of the game sort of became a sort of kind of like a meme in a way. It's like, oh, can your PC run Crysis?
Yeah. I
It's
remember that.
that was sort of the benchmark game for for how powerful a PC or platform was really.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean that really transcended the. I mean, I couldn't even tell you what the story was. I mean, I know you have like this kind of quasi power armor thing on, and I really can't even remember what the story was about. And the gunplay wasn't even all that fantastic either. I mean, like I said, really what it was it was a gorgeous looking game. It was a tech demo, and
Mm-hmm.
you know it's I mean it's kind of dated now, but it is kind of what it is impressive to see what they were capable of back then, and kind of what um kind of where we came from there.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't play Crysis when it first came out either, so I'm intrigued. I'm interested to see kind of this new remaster, what they're going to be doing. And then the other game that is getting released is Star Wars Episode One Racer, which is the pod racing game that came out way back in the day, back in like the 2000s when LucasArts was making just Star Wars games left, right, and center. It is being developed by Asper, which is the same developer who pretty much ported Jedi Outcast and Jedi Academy to the current systems. So now this is going to be coming out, and this will arrive May 12th, and this is coming from StarWars.com. There's an interview for the from that they had with the game producer James Vicari. But pretty much the article is just saying like it's good games should never be forgotten, and this is one of them. This is probably one of the very few Star Wars games that I missed that I didn't like. I missed out on back in the day, and I think that's because this was on the PS2 and I had an original Xbox, so I didn't play this one. Just like how
Wait, it was Star Wars Episode 1 Racer?
yeah, Episode One Racer.
That was on Nintendo 64.
Was it? Oh, yes. I'm sorry. Yes, you're right.
Yeah,
You're
no,
right.
I remember. I owned it on
I'm
Nintendo
thinking of
64.
Racer's Revenge. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yeah, that's but yeah, no, I actually owned this game back on Nintendo 64, and it was surprisingly good. I mean, of course uh, it, episode 1 was kind of weird. The movie. I mean, it was not well received at all, but it kind of launched a lot of properties that sort of were. I mean,
Yeah. No. Oh yeah.
this game was successful. There was a God, what was the name of it? There was a follow up game to Rogue
Combat
Squadron.
Racers. Yeah. There was.
No, no,
Yep.
no. There was a Oh, Battle for Naboo, I think it was called. That was a game that was, also based on episode one, but
Yeah.
it was well received. I mean, so there was a lot. The movie itself was not well received, but it kind of launched a lot of things that were in a way, which is kind of weird. But yeah, no, episode one Racer. I have pretty fond memories of it. What I do remember is that it allowed for a good amount of customization, so you could
Hmm.
actually upgrade your pod racer and I mean, I don't know. It was maybe I'm looking at it through nostalgia goggles, but I mean, I enjoyed it as a kid. I'm not really a traditional racing fan.
Hmm.
Um, so I mean, it wasn't really. I mean, but I mean, I warmed to the game. It was enjoyable. So I don't know. Maybe I'll check this out again.
Yeah, so I just want to bring up kind of the games that are these kind of like remasters or ports that are coming out that has been announced this past week. So that's awesome. Again, I love Star Wars games. Um, that one I forgot. I was messing the two up, but I do remember playing Racers Episode One Racer because I would go over to one of my buddy's house when in elementary school and play on his N64 and play Racer. Now I do remember. I was just messing up the two. But let's move on. Next topic. Um, Gamescom 2020 has been officially canceled, and it will now be a fully digital event. It will only be digital. There have been multiple. I do have the article coming from IGN. Um, and I believe we may have talked about it on a past episode of Dualshock'd, but pretty much because of the pandemic, um, Gamescom has kind of been up in the air, but they didn't know what was going to happen. But then they pushed it back, and then um, it just kept going. But what has happened is that now we have a tweet from Gamescom. I'm going to go ahead and read a tweet. This is what it says. It says, "Dear Gamescom community, it's official. Unfortunately, Gamescom will under no circumstances take place on site in Cologne this year. Just like many of you, we are disappointed because, as the Gamescom team, we have been working on a wonderful Gamescom 2020 for months, just like many exhibitors. However, it is also clear to us, in the face of the pandemic, we must stand united. This means that we must all be considerate of each other and reduce the risk of infection. We are, however, already working at full speed on a digital Gamescom. It is, after all, the world's biggest event for games, and that's what it should be again this year. You can already look forward to how we will celebrate the best games in Gamescom together with you and millions of gamers worldwide at the end of August. Even it will only be digital and not at location at this time. Because one thing is certain, this year too, Gamescom is and will remain the heart of gaming. We will reveal more about this in the next few weeks. Until then, stay healthy and don't forget to hashtag stay home play together. The Gamescom team. And then anyone who has already purchased tickets, they will be refunded. Um, and there's all of that. So if you bought tickets to go to Gamescom, your tickets will be getting refunded. So that's good. So yeah, what do you think about this?
Yeah, I mean, it's what can I say? It's a lot of bad news this year.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
this is not a good thing. I mean, I like these events. I like the excitement and the build up for them. I just I don't know. I mean, I can't. There's not much positive to say about it. I mean, I
yeah.
basically all we can do is hope that we kind of emerge from this and next year and we kind of look back on this time sort of like as a bad dream. I mean, that's kind of the hope. I mean, because yeah, right now, I mean, it's not good. I mean, all these major events canceled. I mean, the one, I guess the silver lining in this is that we are still getting good games. I mean, we just got Doom Eternal. Final Fantasy remake looks good. We have Cyberpunk to look forward to. I mean, there's definitely games still coming out. I mean, so that's good. I
At the
mean, of
moment,
course,
Ghost of Tsushima hasn't been delayed yet.
Ghost of Tsushima hasn't been delayed. I mean, I know your Last of Us got delayed, but I mean, it's still going to come out eventually.
Yep.
I mean,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
but yeah, I mean, yeah, it's a lot of downers. I mean, a lot of
Yeah.
bad news here and there,
Yeah.
but it's just, I mean, it's at the same time though. I mean, there's still there's some hope out there still.
Yeah. No. Yeah. But I'm glad that it'll be digital, so we'll still be able to like. That's where everything's going, and with this pandemic, this is going to change things just completely. Not just right now, but on like just going forward from this. Like, who knows what's gonna change from this? You know, more people would rather work from home, and um, you know, but in the gaming space, it's better to do these digital events rather than hold them in a big, in an exhibition hall. Um, Even when this completely passes over, it's cheaper and you can get the word out much faster. And then there will still be like exhibitions where people will like gather together. So yeah, I don't know. It's going to be very interesting. This is going to be a very interesting year. Let's move on. Next topic is that Sony patents a robotic gaming companion that reacts to your emotions. Sony has patented
So
and
Furby.
I guess. I mean, you're not funny because this also comes from the article that I have also comes from IGN, and I also have the kind of the patent page of like what they have given to the United States Patent and Trademark Office, and it's a fuzzy little guy who sits next to you on on the sofa or couch, whatever, while
Oh
you
wow, I
play
was just
games.
joking.
No, I know.
So they're bringing Furby back. Everything. That's my favorite phrase. Everything is so old, it's new again.
I know, right? Well, I mean, you're not wrong. I mean, all of us are. There's like already like reboots of things. I mean, mind you, we literally were just talking about one of the most famous games from the '90s, Final Fantasy VII. So like that
Yeah,
game
it's
came
it's
out.
it's like, I mean, before you know it, it's gonna be it's this is really gonna be the Roaring Twenties rappers and
I,
stuff again too. Probably. I mean, it's
I,
good. Just because
I
we're so out of ideas, we're just gonna.
I guess so, but yeah, and pretty much is that the companion has no mouth but a pair of endearing eyes and cute boots, and is said to be able to talk and empathize with player, as well as to move its arm, leg, or neck in reaction to the user's emotions. The
Sounds
pat
horrifying.
I know the patent mentions that ideally the robot would quote would be autonomous to the point where it would sit beside you on the sofa on its own accord rather than be placed next to the user. It's also noted that the robot could play games with the player. The example given is the companion controller, the quote opponent team of a baseball game being played by the user. Um, it is just like it continues talking about like what is the robot partner. It's all about joint viewing experience. The patent explains that the robot has a quote love index, which would be affected by how the user speaks to the robot in movements and tension. When asked to be charged, if the player doesn't charge the robot quickly, it will evaluate that the player does not love it and will react in similar fashion. If it's
God.
kicked around instead of being stroked, or if the user tells the robot that it's being noisy. If it feels unpopular, it will no longer empathize with the player during gameplay. A conscious action made to make the user reflect on their attitude and treat the robot more kindly in the future. It can also help to improve quote life rhythm and will tell users to go to bed. Um,
This
well,
I take it back. This is exactly what you need somebody to kind of tell you what to do. I
I
think. I mean,
guess.
this would be perfect for you.
Uh,
Uh,
The patent also describes a computer generated version of this companion can be experienced in virtual reality when the user straps on a head mounted device, so like PSVR. Quote, a mechanism is proposed in which the content is reproduced in front of the user, and when the user turns sideways, the user may see the virtual character is viewing the content together with the user. Um, so, yeah, again, now mind you, who knows if this is going to be happening? It's a patent. There are patents thrown out every day, and like 70 to 80% of them are never used. Like,
oh yeah, it's yeah. So I mean, don't you take this with a massive grain of salt, but I mean, but still, I guess it's just kind of based on the description alone. It's just kind of funny to think about it.
Yeah, yeah.
That's I mean, things like this have kind of worked in the past. I mean, I joked about Furby, but Furby is kind of a precedent for this. Furby was super popular for a while,
Oh
and
yeah.
then everybody forgot about it.
You know.
But I mean, there's been kind of there's always I mean, look at what Nintendo did. Nintendo had Rob the Robot.
Hmm.
That kind of was sort of a Trojan horse that got people to buy the Nintendo Entertainment System.
Yeah.
I mean, so there is precedent that shows that this can kind of work. People do like the idea of like sort of a virtual pet of sorts. I mean, there is some appeal to it. So I guess, yeah, I mean, if
Well, I
they
mean, like a Tamagotchi or um that kind of like those kind of things. Even now, Nintendo has if you get the Pokeball Plus, and you play Pokemon Go or Let's Go Eevee or Pikachu, you can actually throw a Pokemon into the Pokeball, and you can carry it around with you, and
That's actually that brings up kind of 2 points with it too. One, I think this kind of needs two things to be successful. One, or one thing done really, it needs to do something kind of new that other virtual pet stuff hasn't done before. Kind of really
yep.
take advantage of new technology, and or it should be attached to some kind of brand. Pokemon. I'm surprised Nintendo really hasn't done more with this, with like virtual pets and stuff like that. But I mean, something like Pokemon would sell like crazy. Like
Hmm.
I mean, it's attaching it to like a known brand. I don't know what brand they would attach this to, but or maybe they would just make up their own thing. But I think it has to do something different than what we've seen before, because people have seen this stuff before, and I think for people to kind of get on board with it and to get crazy about it, make it a success, it
I
needs to
mean,
be.
I think if we're talking about having it be successful, I think when we near the end when I was reading it and said using it in VR, I think that's the best way. Is that if you throw on your VR headset, maybe in the playroom or something, I don't know, but you have the Astrobots from the playroom in Astrobot Rescue, or maybe you have the Sackboys from Little Big Planet.
There you go. Yeah, I didn't
You
think
could
about that.
use that. What I think using the VR is honestly the best way to do it. Not an actual physical bot, but you're in VR, you throw on the PSVR headset, you turn to your left or right, and you see the Sackboy or
I
whatever next
I
to you.
disagree. I would go with a different approach. I think the physical um toy is important. I'm thinking more from a marketing standpoint. I mean, that's exactly what Nintendo was thinking. The idea was, when they made Rob, is that parents will buy it because it's a toy,
Mm-hmm.
and they may not necessarily even care about the game system, but they'll see, oh, this is a toy, I can give this to my kid, and
Mm-hmm.
they'll like it. A VR is a little bit more niche. I mean, you have to have the setup for it. It's not really meant for kids in the same way that you know, uh, like other things are.
No, I get you.
So I think I would go with something that's actually physical, that they could
Yeah.
have and actually hold.
Yeah, but again, this is only a patent. Who knows what's going to happen with this?
Yeah, it'll probably nothing will come of it, but yeah, exactly.
I just found it very appealing. Let's move on. Next topic: the original Resident Evil 2 voice actor, um, Paul Haddad, who voiced Leon Kennedy, has died. In a tweet from Invader Studios, it says, Paul Haddad, our dear friend and an icon among the RE community, has passed away recently. We've been truly honored to have the chance to meet and work with such a great man and a brilliant professional that he was. Rest in peace, Paul. You will live forever in our hearts. Um, and then also, there is another tweet that um, from Nick. I'm gonna probably mess up his last name. Apostolides, who voiced Leon last year in the 2019 remake, Resident Evil 2 remake that came out last year, and he also tweeted. He put up a tribute video. It says in the tweet, recorded this when I found out. A few words for friend, legend, and our one true Leon, Paul Haddon. Rest easy, brother. We love and thank you. Also, quick side note: he also voiced Quicksilver in X-Men: The Animated Series and Mr. Fox from the children's show Franklin.
Cool.
Um,
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously, very sad.
yeah.
I mean, it doesn't have the same impact for me as, like I said, I'm not a Resident Evil fan.
Mhm.
But still, I mean, it's always sad to see, like, especially voice actors from kind of that era, because
Yeah.
that was so, what's the word I'm looking for? I mean, it's people kind of have like kind of extra nostalgia for that era, like when I
Yeah.
think of like voice actors from around that time and stuff like that, it's just like, oh, you kind of grew up, listening to these performances, so
Yeah.
kind of extra sad when it's from that. So, I mean, it's sad when any of them when anyone dies, but it sort of has, it's more of a profound impact when it's someone you
Hmm.
remember, voiced a character from your childhood.
Yep. And he died at the age of 56, so he was that's actually pretty young to have passed away.
Oh yeah,
Um,
very.
but yeah, he voiced the original Leon Kennedy from the original PS1 Resident Evil 2. So yeah, that sucks. But that is all of the news. So shall we move into our main topic?
Well, you're running this. You tell me.
Alrighty, let's move on to our PlayStation conversation.
PlayStation.
Alrighty, so a lot of our PlayStation conversations within, I would probably say the last month or so, mind you, it's all about the PS5. This is the year of the PS5. It's really hard to just kind of not talk about it. And this time around, I wanted to bring this up. So we talked about the DualSense controller in the last episode. I don't know if you and I have talked about the new DualSense, but I know me and Guru Blaze have talked about the
Yeah, no,
DualSense.
I wasn't there for the last one.
Um,
I guess my invitation was lost in the mail.
all
No, I'm just but I'll give my quick 30 seconds about the DualSense. I'm
right, go.
cautiously yeah, here we go. I'm kind of launching into it. I'm cautiously optimistic about it. I do like that it appears at least to be a larger controller. One of my complaints with the PlayStation controller has always been that it's kind of been made for like kids' hands. I kind of prefer. That's why I've always kind of preferred the Xbox controller. But it looks like this one's a little bit more. It's a bit more bulky. It's got more heft to it. So that's good. That's good. I'm cautiously optimistic. I really can't judge it until I've actually held it in my hands and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But I am cautiously optimistic. It does look like like an upgrade. Kind of a weird, the prototype or whatever that they showed. It's kind of a weird color scheme they have for it. But I'm assuming that's just for kind of the prototype version. And just like all their other controllers, they'll have a multitude of different colors for it.
What the white on black?
Yeah,
The
very weird choice for a
No,
control.
that is the color. That is your default color. That is not a prototype. That is the announced, like they have it on the PlayStation block. This is the default color. This is
I mean, I guess I mean that doesn't bode well for how the system's gonna. Assuming the system's gonna match it.
Oh yeah.
Um, but I don't know. I guess I think of PlayStation and I like more of like a black or maybe like a gray or something like that.
So
I
do
don't
you
really
think it
think of
should
like
have been more? Do you think it should have been more black on white, like reverse the two colors?
yeah. I mean, and like I said, keep in mind it's all kind of irrelevant. I'm sure there's going to be, just like every system, there's going to be multiple SKUs with, different colors and stuff like that. I mean, they have like, I don't even know how many different colors they have for controllers for PlayStation 4 now.
Oh yeah, and
Um,
there'll be special editions, and there have been fans who have done mock-ups with different colors and everything. Like it's crazy. I saw one for Marvel Spider-Man with using the Uncharted 4 like controller colors, like that little like light blue. The 20th anniversary gray, all that kind of stuff. So um, yeah, I personally love it. I've talked about it in mass with Guru Blaze, but yeah, I love this look of the controller. It looks sleeker. Um, And I like that they moved the light bar to the side, so on and so forth. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're not here to talk about the controller. It's about there is an article from Bloomberg that states that Sony's plans are limited to the PS5's output in the first year. So the quantity of the PS5 is going to be much more limited this year. And let me go ahead and go on with this. So Sony plans to produce fewer units with the upcoming PS5 in the first year than it has in the last generation, which to compare that, the PS4 sold over 7 million units in the first 5 months. So just to kind of keep that. So within the first 5 months, the PS4 sold 7 million units. The Tokyo-based tech giant is limiting the initial production run, in part because it expects the PS5's ambitious specs to weigh on demand by leading to a high price at launch, some people have said. Also, the pandemic has also messed with production as it has messed with everyone else. The company has told assembly partners that it would make 5 to 6 million units of the PS5 in the fiscal year ending in March 2021, according to people in the machine's supply chain. When Sony released the PS4 in November, it sold 7.5 million in the first 2 quarters. So by that time, what people are speculating is that the price of the PS5 could be $499 to $549, so $500 to $550. That is speculation. That is not the price. That is what people are thinking. So going,
I think they're kind of, I'll kind of jump on right just one. I think they'd be nuts to try to charge around infamous $599 price again. I mean,
no. No, $499. So $500 to $550.
yeah, basically right around that same price though.
But that is not the exact price. They have not stated anything, and the reason they are is we have talked about this many times before, is that they are keeping that price point as close to the chest as possible. And the reason is because of these expensive. It's the components of the system itself. When it comes to hearing about this, like I'm honestly kind of surprised, like because we've been hearing people speculate, oh, the price of the PS5, and we've even talked about this ourselves. That people have speculated more about the price of the PS5 more than the price of the Series X. Just like being around on the internet and just kind of like browsing other articles for the show and just kind of like looking at like video game news. I've seen more articles speculate the price of the PS5 than I have for the price of the Series X. I'm not saying that's a bad thing nor a good thing. It's just that's what I'm seeing. I do find that though very interesting that the people are speculating more about the price of the PS5 than the Series X, and I think that's because there are more people excited for the PS5 than the Series X, because there are more people who have PS4s in their households than Xbox Ones. The PS4 has sold 2 to 1 of the Xbox One, and I think that's kind of why people are more excited for the PS5 than the Series X. And I know you and I differ on when it comes to the power and the capabilities of each system. There are multiple articles that I have even seen that say, oh, the PS5 is better, but oh, the Series X is better, and you know, there are all these pundits, including us, talk about that. So it's.
But I guess to kind of talk about kind of to dive right into it. I mean, I guess I mean we've had shortages like this before. We've had had situations where consoles are going to be very hard to find. I mean, obviously, if they're going to be making significantly fewer of these systems, I mean, I mean, Series X and PlayStation 5, I mean, most consoles they tend to sell out right away, no matter what the system is. That's why it's usually not a great idea to kind of judge the long-term success of a console based on its initial launch. I mean, even the Wii U uh, sold out, right away. It's just kind of the nature of launches. There's a tremendous amount of demand, and there's only so much they can make.
Yeah.
This is going to be a really it's there's so many unknowns. We don't know what the world is going to look like by the time holiday 2020 rolls around. That's still 5 to 6 months away, a little bit more than that. So I mean, there is that unknown to this. I mean, for me, I guess we can talk about it personally. Let's kind of divide it up that way, if that makes sense. Let's talk about it personally, how it affects us, and then we can kind of affect how we talk about how it affects the game industry more in general.
Sure. I just want to make sure. So I also have, that's the Bloomberg article. I also pulled up a separate article from IGN, pretty much just kind of rehashing the Bloomberg article. It is stated in Bloomberg article and on IGN that the pandemic has only affected the components of the system themselves. So it's not about it hasn't affected the production of the completed PS5 itself. It's about getting the components for the PS5 for it. So whether it's the solid state drive or the graphics card or whatever it would be, or the Tempest, technology, whatever it would be, it's the components that are making it harder to get because of the pandemic, and not just there are too many of them, so we need to make it less. Like, is that making sense? Are you understanding what I'm trying to say?
Yes.
Okay. That's what I'm trying to say, or trying to explain. So you want to talk about what you think personally about this, and then how this affects the gaming industry, just like the PS5 as a whole, correct? That's the way you want to go?
Correct. Yeah.
Sure.
So I guess kind of talking about from our I mean, for you, I know, I mean, don't let me put words in your mouth, but I'm sure that your plan and your initial plan, and still your plan, is to purchase a PlayStation 5 at launch.
Yes, very, very much so. I do.
So that hasn't changed.
No, regardless, mind you, if they put it at $1,000, then I'm going to be like, what are you doing?
So barring some kind of outlandish situation.
Yeah, and and I think I brought this up before about kind of, if we look at inflation from between launches of each generation, yes, it sucks because that 500 is a lot, but it makes sense if you count inflation, if that makes sense. But I am a hardcore PlayStation fan. I do plan on buying it day one. I also do understand that that is a very high price point, and the only way that it will work is if Xbox also sells their Series X at 500 or 550. That's why people are speculating, experts who are in analytics and do, kind of predict pricing for tech or whatever as their job. This is what they're predicting, but they are not. It hasn't been declared or confirmed what the price is, because that's a massive deciding factor for the system. So yeah, but I know, for me, yes, I will be buying a PS5 right out the gate, day one, bam.
Yeah. So I mean, so that really hasn't changed.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for me, it's a lot more up in the air in general. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't have this same strong desire to get one right away. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it really was a matter of the features. I'm not so much worried about the price. I mean, I'm I do okay. I'm not a billionaire, but I do okay.
Yeah.
So I'm not price isn't really as much of a factor for me outside of something like completely ridiculous. Like I mean,
Oh
if it
yeah.
was like it's something that they if it was a couple $1,000s or something like that, then I'd be like, okay, this
Yeah.
it's got to have something to really capture me, to justify that.
No,
But
I
I
agree.
don't. That would be anathema to how consoles are marketed, and the whole point of a console is to have something that's a little bit more affordable and has mass market appeal, and
Yeah.
you just wouldn't have that if it was that expensive, you know.
No, yeah.
Um, so price isn't as much of a concern. I've mentioned before I'm disappointed in the feature set. I wanted things like backwards compatibility, which is not really providing. Full backwards compatibility beyond just PlayStation 4.
Yeah.
Uh,
And
so
yeah, that, and we've talked about it again.
and we've
That's
talked about that before. It's in terms of its raw power. I mean, I'm sure it's going to be a power system. It's an upgrade. It's a definite upgrade from where we were. But at the same time, the Series X, if nothing else, shows that maybe they could have gone even further. I mean, I'm not saying that it's going to be a night and day difference between the two, but it does show that, like, hey, maybe they cut back in a few places. And maybe they're kind of gambling on this hard drive thing, that they're doing. But
Are you talking about the solid state drive, or are you talking about the temp?
not just the solid state drive, the proprietary solid state drive.
No. That's Xbox. Xbox is using proprietary external hard drives. PlayStation
No,
is using. You can get whatever, like Seagate uh, external hard drive for it.
okay, yeah, but they're doing something with their like hard drive read. I
No,
can't remember.
it's that the difference is that it's the raw power of the graphics card. It's like, as you said, you're looking at it. What appeals to you of the Series X is the actual raw power of just standard built-in. This is what it does. Bam. Where with PlayStation, it's like I've used the analogy many times. It's that the PlayStation is using a superpowered V6 versus the Series X's raw V8, using the analogy of car engines. And the other thing is that PlayStation is doing that a lot of people have been applauding them for is this like Tempest 3D audio engine. This kind of like they want to immerse people into the game outside of just the graphics of it. And even when we were talking about the DualSense, when me and Guru Blaze were talking about it, they are going with the controller. They're going for a more haptic feedback. So when you are drawing a
Yeah,
bow,
we're getting kind of off topic
oh,
though.
sorry.
Yeah, but yeah, no. Anyways, I'm disappointed with. So I mean, I don't know. I guess I don't really see a scenario where I do purchase this day one. I think this is a wait for me. I mean, the other big difference between us two is that in terms of the exclusives, I mean, the number of exclusives that Sony has that I enjoy, that list is pretty small for me as compared to you.
Yeah, no, I
Uh,
like.
so I, I'm someone that I really love God of War. There's been some other exclusives that have come out this gen that I've also really enjoyed. Medieval, for example, Shadow of the Colossus remaster, stuff like that.
Mm,
So I mean, there's a handful of them, but there's not like a dozen plus of them. I think you enjoy nearly all the exclusives. I can't think of any that you actively despise or anything like that.
no,
Uh,
and there are even exclusives that people don't
I
like
mean,
that I enjoy.
there's probably some that you're more ambivalent to. I mean, it's just kind of
Oh
like a
yeah.
whatever to you. Like I mean, like you're probably not the biggest Gran Turismo fan.
No,
Uh,
but I do know why it exists. Like I'm not a racing guy, um, but like, and I would definitely say if it's like between Forza and Gran Turismo, Forza's the better racing game. Just because like Gran Turismo dropped the ball back with Gran Turismo 5 and whatever. Forza has just over and over and over again has just meant like you like cars, you like racing this, you want like racing simulation, you get Forza Motorsport. You want that arcade Need for Speed racing, you get Forza Horizon, and then there you go. Like, Forza's the better racing game. I can even say that as a
I know
PlayStation fan.
there's a lot that would debate you on that. But
I get you, but all I'm saying is like Gran Turismo. I like Gran Turismo. It's fun, but I'm not a racing guy. For me, I'm excited for like Uncharted, Last of Us. Like there are all the developers that are within Sony's worldwide studios. I'm more excited for than before. Kind of the past 2 years of E3 of Xbox acquiring like a bunch of like studios that I enjoy, like Double Fine, like Ninja Theory, so on and so forth. Like, I don't know. I'm very intrigued, and I'm very interested to see kind of the exclusives that are now going to be coming out for the Xbox, just the Xbox brand. Like Hellblade 2, I'm excited for. Whatever Double Fine is going to be doing, that's going to be cool. So, I mean, again, who knows?
But I mean, for me, for someone that, I mean, obviously, unless they're going to make like a big surprise announcement, obviously we're not going to have God of War at launch, the next God of War game.
God, I'd be so surprised if that was the case.
That'd be really out of left field. So, with that being said, I don't really see like some kind of big must-have exclusive that would come out right away. I mean, and I'm also basing this on the past, on the past as well too. I mean, go back to the PlayStation 4. It didn't really launch with a big must-have exclusive. It launched with a couple of exclusive Killzone and Knack, but I wouldn't really say many people would call those must-have. Even going back to the PlayStation 3, I mean, the only exclusive game really on it at the time, or like of any note, was Resistance: Fall of Man, which was a good game.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. But it was not like an, oh my God, I got to run out and spend $599 on this.
No, I mean, yeah, and like even with the PS4 launch, you had Knack. You were supposed to get 3 of them. It was supposed to be Knack, Drive Club, and Killzone Shadowfall. And Drive Club got pushed back, and then you only got Knack and Killzone. Killzone was probably the better one out of the two. But it was still just a very pretty shooter, and then Knack is just a very pretty platformer. That was just meh.
But yeah, so the long and short of it is, I don't see like a must-have exclusive that, unless they announce one or something like that. I don't see anything that would this right now. That combined with the feature set that I'm not happy with, would lead me to say I don't really see the need to rush out and buy the system right away. That's where I'm coming from. It's I mean, I don't know. I guess what's do you kind of see my logic? What's your reaction to that?
So I mean, okay. So for me, like, I am upset that it's not like PS4. It's not complete backwards compatible. PS3, PS2, PS1. I will agree with you there. But I can see that being thrown in later, if that becomes such a thing that people want. But the PS5 with all the specs and the controller and kind of the features that they want to go with, they want to, their whole purpose of this system now is they want to immerse you into the game in other ways outside of just what's being played on the TV. Hence the haptic rumble in the controller. Hence where it's gonna like recognize how much it needs to shake. Like if you're driving on gravel, it's gonna shake harder than if you were driving on the street. And then the 3D audio where like you don't need a headset. You can speak into the controller and we'll pick it up right there. They're trying to immerse you through audio and through the different ways it vibrates. I like that. When it comes to its exclusives, the problem is that if we're talking about like, well, the games is not why, like there's not enough games for me to go with that. Problem is we don't have really anything to go with. That's kind of the next step that PlayStation needs to go in, is that, okay, we got the DualSense. This controller is great, and this is what we should have got instead of the GDC conference. That GDC conference, or at least don't go ahead and be like, oh, the road to the PS5. Like, that was stupid. The DualSense, like, article, that was awesome. That's what you should have done first. Now the next step is do a state of play in the next month or two, because we're halfway through April. We're going to be going into May. June is going to be coming up. Like, do a state of play and have it be like an hour long, hour and a half, whatever it needs to be. Like, show off your system. And I understand we might be getting it in June or maybe a little bit later, because they're very much kind of playing it close to chest. But when it comes to their games, that's kind of where it's going to be the make or break part of it. Like, when they announced the PS4, I will never forget that. It's like they announced the PS4, all the system specs and all the different things that made it different from the Xbox One, when the Xbox One was doing all these DRM things that at the time no one liked. And then they went, okay, Kingdom Hearts 3, Final Fantasy 7 Remake, Infamous Second Son, Order 1886. Just, you want games? Bam! And they came up with big guns. Like, it's not just like, okay, here are some exclusives. They also went Final Fantasy 7 Remake. Everyone went, what? Like, that game has been talked about since 2013. And we finally have it, but, like, that's a game that has been on everyone's mind since then. Kingdom Hearts 3 is another one. So, the only game we know of is this Godfall game that I have no idea what it is, outside of it being said in an article given by Gearbox or being said after the Game Awards that it's a slasher looter. So it's a hack and slash game, but then it has that Borderlands like loot style or whatever to it. Which great, awesome, and I love the aesthetics. But what is the game about? What is this game? I don't know what it is. And then, what games are going to be coming out at launch? Like, right now, Xbox is standing really in a very good spot. They're going like, here's Halo Infinite. We're kind of like rebooting yet not rebooting the franchise. Like, here's Halo Infinite and then Hellblade 2. So, like, you have two very good games that people are excited for. All we got is Godfall. Like, I would say that Last of Us Part 2 is coming to the PS4. But I wouldn't be surprised if it goes at launch. Last of Us Part 2 comes out on PS5 also.
Yeah, I could see a lot of like cross-generation games as well too. And yeah, I mean, you make a good point with Godfall. I mean, we don't know much about it, you know. I mean, that's one of the few games they kind of showed us, and it's just like there's not much we can really say about it, you know.
Yeah, and I think when you're talking about like games, like the I'm not gonna go with the PS5 because of the games it has. We don't have enough games to know about it, so we only know with the specs. So with what we have talked about in kind of when we talked about the specs of it, I get it, I understand it, I disagree, but I get it because you're looking at the raw power. I'm going like, well, it's doing other different things that hasn't been done before, and that's what is interesting to me. That is why I'm like outside the games, I'm like, oh, 3D audio, oh, this, that, and the other. Like, oh, that's great. I don't care about power. That's not something I care about. Now, was there anything else you want to talk about personally? Because let's move on.
Well, I mean, the other kind of factor too, of course, for me is, I do have a ready-made alternative PC gaming, which I've kind of become more and more entwined in. So that is kind of another. Yeah, that's kind of another key difference is that. I have kind of an alternative, so that's weighs on my decision as well too.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, I mean, don't get me wrong. I want to get it. I mean, it really, let's see, for pretty much all the other PlayStations that have come out, I've gotten them at launch. I got a, PlayStation 2 at launch. I got I didn't get a PlayStation 1 at launch. But I got a PlayStation 2 at launch. I got a PlayStation 3 at launch. I had a PlayStation 4 at launch. So my default is to actually get these things right away. I just this time around I just don't see the value in it for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, and
but that could change. That could change.
I think we can't decide that indefinitely until we know this is the launch launch date, like the definite date, not just holiday 2020, but like month, day, blank. The launch day, the games it's going to be coming out with at launch and after, so on and so forth. Like, we need everything before we can go, okay, now what do you choose? It's good to kind of have an idea, but we don't have enough information in order to go by. And like, if I wasn't a PlayStation fanboy, like if I wasn't like a PlayStation, as I said before, I think the DualSense has kind of made me go, okay, good job. And the specs is kind of hit and miss. It's like kind of both. When it comes to specs, it doesn't sway me back and forth. If I wasn't a PlayStation fan. But when it comes to its games, like at launch, you're getting Hellblade 2 and Halo Infinite. That's very good. Like, I love Halo. Like, that is the Xbox franchise where I'm like that. And then Hellblade, because I loved Hellblade 1. Hellblade 1 was great. You're going to be getting that at launch too. So, like, that's going to be awesome. Now, let's talk about how this kind of shortage is going to affect the video game industry. Because it has been said, is like, this is such a weird year, like, because of the pandemic, with just us being locked in our houses, like, there's a lot of, like, production has been halted or slowed down because of it. And then, as stated before, like, the pandemic has put a factor into the components of the system, not the actual building of the system. Like, if they had equal number of components to the equal number of, like, in-house, shells or pieces that they have, they would be made much faster, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, they're not. Sony itself has previously said that it will not delay the launch, but analysis have previously warned that there could be launch shortages, and that's going to probably be for both. Like, it's not just going to be PlayStation; it's probably going to be for the Series X also. So let's begin there. Like, what do you think, or kind of what's going through your mind hearing this?
Yeah, one thing's a certainty. We know that we know there's likely going to be a shortage no matter what. I mean, it's just the nature of a console launch. So no matter what, it'll be short. But now with this, we are I guess our main comparison to this was, maybe this could be. I mean, it depends on how popular the system's going to be. But I mean, if it is popular, which I suspect it will be, relative to the PlayStation 4, we could be looking at a Wii scenario where,
yeah.
I don't know if you remember the Nintendo Wii, but I mean, for a very, very long time, almost over a year,
yeah,
it was very difficult to find. I mean, you had scalpers on eBay selling it for $1,000. I mean, it was you had, it was a very difficult system to pin down. Now, the other problem with the Wii was, production was low for a while. So we don't know if it's just gonna. As far as we know, production might just be shorter for the console's launch cycle, and then it becomes ramped up like crazy, and they're able to kind of meet demand then. So we don't know that part of it this time around.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is. I'm sure. I guess I anticipate. Kind of looking ahead here, I anticipate that the Series X will do well, but I imagine. There's a lot of momentum behind PlayStation, even with a kind of a ho hum meh kind of console, or at least a kind of an introduction to that console. There's still a lot of momentum going into the next generation. Just based on the sales of the PlayStation 4, it has a lot it has a lot going for it. And now I would suspect that as more people are attached to their that's kind of the clever thing about things like PlayStation Plus and stuff like that, is you kind of you build up this you kind of build up equity in a system, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
That's my analogy.
Yeah.
Because it's like, okay, not if I leave the PlayStation before, if you switched, there was no flashback all the way back to the 90s, when if you were if you had a Sega and a Sega Genesis and you wanted to switch over to a Super Nintendo, really all you had to do was buy the Super Nintendo and then buy the games for it, and that was about it. But now it's deeper than that. Now you have to get a different online subscription, you are losing out on all your digital games. You're losing out on possibly a large collection of games too because of Plus and other things you bought digitally.
Mm-hmm.
You lose out on your friends, on your trophies. You
You
have to
have to
kind of start.
restart. You have to
Yep.
restart.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's it makes the cost of switching a lot more dramatic as compared to what it used to be before
Mm-hmm.
we had these type of things.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Uh,
And mind you, in when it comes to business sense, that is very very smart. And honestly, like Xbox doing the Xbox Live for the 360 was very smart. And that was also why the online was better on the 360 than the PS3. I'll even go ahead and say that. Like the online for the PS3 was not good. I could play
yeah.
like.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Go
Go
ahead.
ahead. Okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I think I was kind of echoing what you were saying is that the online kind of had to be good on the Xbox because there was an expectation that hey, I'm a paying customer.
Yep. And honestly, like that money would go towards getting more servers and getting, amping up the online where, PlayStation kept with the whole free online thing, which is awesome. But you're not throwing any money in it, so you have to siphon money from other places. Um, and again, I've been a fan of Plus for a very long time. So and mind you, I was in a very small percentage of people when the PS4 got announced. Like I already had Plus on my PS3 because I needed to do cloud saves from one system to another, and then the PS4 comes out, and they're like, "You need it now," and I'm like, "All right, well, I already have it, so." And I get free games. I already get free games on my PS3, so I'm gonna get free games on my PS4. Great, I'm here. Like nothing changed, but I understand where you and a lot of other people were like, I need to buy it now? Like, what? I didn't need this. But what the reason why people were able to kind of like, whatever, all right, fine, something I don't like, but whatever, I'll look over it. It was lightning in a bottle. That was just the perfect time and execution and gear. Just everything fell into place for PlayStation. Like it could not
Yeah,
have
I give
happened
them
any
a
better.
lot of credit. I mean, because it was kind of a piece of bad news, but they very cleverly kind of weaved that into their presentation. And I mean, there were some people at the time itself are like, hey, we're kind of getting screwed here. But at the same time, it was like, okay, well, looking at the competition, it's like, geez, well, I mean,
And
I'll swallow this pill.
And really, like, if people who were going to transition from Xbox to PS4, like the 360 to PS4, that's something that they're like, well, I've already been doing it for Xbox, so who cares? It's really the people who are like, what is the people who've been playing on the PS3 who've had it for free. But it's just like Xbox shot themselves in the foot by all the DRM stuff. All of the instead of video games, it's TV and sports, and then just everything. And then PlayStation comes out like, here are the games. This is what we're going to do for the players, for the developers. All like everything fell exactly into place. It was literally lightning in a bottle. This year is going to be very different. This generation launch is going to be very different. And I think that's why, as I've stated before, PlayStation is playing on very much on the defense. That's why they're being very silent about a lot of things, and good and bad. That is what they're doing. It's good because they're kind of letting Xbox kind of do their thing, and they're kind of seeing what they're doing and seeing like, all right, is this good? Is it bad? All right, but them also kind of keeping it so close to the chest. Xbox is getting ahead, and Xbox isn't stumbling over themselves because Phil Spencer is really good at what he does. Like
Yeah,
he's
I mean, he had a, I mean, to give him credit where credit's due, he had the very unenviable task of basically rebuilding a brand
yeah,
after it was torched and burned. I mean, it was not in a. That was some dark days for Xbox.
mm-hmm.
But I mean, he's really brought it back from the brink to. I mean, it wasn't him alone, obviously, but he's really brought it
He's
back
the
from the
head
brink.
guy. He was the one who led it.
Yeah, he's it's like the director or the coach kind of gets a lot of the
Mm-hmm,
credit.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But I mean, he what can you say? He brought it back from a state of just the lowest it's ever been, and it's actually poised to be in a really good spot this generation.
And
If
yeah, and Phil Spencer has been like, yeah, we're gonna kind of keep with the vision that we wanted to do in 2013, but we're gonna just kind of reformat it, like the whole DRM and always online. Like now, who cares? Like everything is connected to online all of the time, everything. So that doesn't matter anymore. And like everyone applauds the Game Pass. Like that's what PlayStation Now changed their whole kind of the workings of it for the most part because of Game Pass. The pricing of it is $10 per month. Uh, you can download PS4 games to the system. So like, and that's because of Game Pass. It was all PlayStation Now has always been a streaming service. So that's where I go. Like, yes, I'm a PlayStation fanboy, and this is a PlayStation podcast, but I can also critically what PlayStation has done, good and bad, and how this shortage is going to affect the game industry and everyone as a whole. Like again, it's the pandemic has affected it, but this pricing, if that is the correct pricing, who knows if that's going to turn people. If it is that 500 or 550, there's going to be a lot of people who are either just going to go, nah, I'll wait. Like there may be more people who are going to wait on it and not buy it day one or within that first quarter than last time. Because again, the pricing of the PS4 was also just perfect. Also 400 versus 500, which was the Xbox One. So that pricing, if that becomes the actual price, the 500 or 550, people may not get a PS4 or PS5. I'm sorry, and it really depends.
and that's a good point.
And it really depends on what Xbox does, and that's why we don't have the price yet. And that is kind of what everything is kind of hanging on. That price is so important to both. It's to both Xbox and PlayStation. To, all right, what system do you get? Yes, the games are important, and we're going to be getting those. Like you could honestly do a state of play in next month or in June. Here's the games. Here's the system. This is what it looks like. Blank. We get a date, but we don't get a pricing. And then maybe in August, we get another blog post for more games, and then the pricing. I could see that. I could honestly see that happening. Because they're waiting on what the Xbox would do. Is Xbox going to sell their system at $400 or $500? Could it be less? Could it be more? Whatever.
Yeah, and it's yeah. I mean, the price, like I said, I've said it time and time. Price is so important. It's just you can't understate how.
Yeah.
And I mean, I mean, we know this. I mean, like every system, this will sell out right away.
Oh yeah.
You know, I mean, it's sort of an inevitability, but at the same time, you know, will it have legs? Will it be able to, you know, I mean, how well will it do, going forward? Because success is not, I mean, as the PlayStation 3 taught us, success is not necessarily guaranteed, even if you're Sony. You know,
No.
I mean,
And
PlayStation 3 really struggled out of the gate for, you know, the first couple of years. I mean, it sold a very respectable amount in the end, but it still stands to this day as, you know, I mean, that had an impact on it. It's the, you know, the lowest selling main, you know, home PlayStation system.
yeah. And I mean, mind you, what brought them back and was able to barely beat out Xbox was that they sold their system. They remodeled it and sold their system at like 300 or 250, like the Super Slims near the end of the life cycle. And then they doubled down on their exclusives, and that started, like, again, like Last of Us is one of the most anticipated exclusives from PlayStation. Like more than God of War, more than Uncharted. I would probably think the only other one could maybe be Marvel Spider-Man. Because of just when Last of Us 1 came out on the PS3. Like, it first comes out, not a lot of people are excited. Like the fans were excited about it because they know what it was going to be. But then all of a sudden, it gets this massive media swell, and now people who have never owned a PlayStation or whatever go and buy one to play Last of Us or whatever. And there you have those very few games that people buy systems only for that game. So, like, yes, games will drive it forward, but yes, if they didn't do the price cuts and the remodels of the PS3, they probably wouldn't have been able to just eke out that win near the end. So, this is, again, I've stated this before, it's going to be a very, very fun, intriguing, interesting year for the video game industry. Just it was going to be like that before before the pandemic, and now look at where we are now.
Yeah, I mean, it was already going to be but now it's like, I mean, I don't know.
So yeah, I think we covered everything on that. I think the shortage, it does make sense, and I guess we're gonna have to see more in the coming months, coming up to the release date of this system. So guys, please let us know what you think in the comments. Let us know what you think. Are you excited for the PS5? What do you think of the shortage, or the speculated shortage and the speculated pricing of it? Please let us know in the comments. But guys, thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel, youtube.com/Brotherhood of Geeks. You press the bell icon also. That way, whenever we put up a video, we put up a video. Like and share this video also, because that would be awesome. You can also follow us on Twitter at Dualshock'd BOG. That's the name of our PlayStation podcast, Dualshock'd. This show, Dualshock'd BOG. You can also follow us on Facebook, which is facebook.com/The Brotherhood of Geeks. And then you can also follow us on Twitch when we stream at twitch.tv/Brotherhood of Geeks. Whoa, that was good. That was very good.
Good stuff.
Very, very good. Yes. Maybe, hopefully, maybe next time, maybe next week or in the next episode, maybe we'll do something a bit more fun. Kind of dig into maybe like more about us, like kind of games that have impacted us or something. I don't know.
I don't know about fun. I mean, that's.
Oh, I forgot. You don't like fun. I forgot.
I think Naughty Dog would back me up on this. They don't like to use fun.
Oh, I don't know. You can shut up, dude. You can go ahead and shut up. You're wrong. So yeah, is there anything else, Spectre?
No, that should be it.
Alrighty then. Well then, I'm Brett J. Rasmussen.
And I'm Spectre.
And as always, live to play, play together. We'll see you guys next time.